kids, friends, family, ladies, and gentle germs. Welcome to Blooming in a Cage, a podcast for humans. It's 8:02 and I'm drinking coffee. So tell me how your night's been. And if I run out of coffee, I have a Diet Coke here ready to go. So I hope you guys are having a good night. We feel like here in the Northeast, here in Southern Vermont, like life has been poured back into our veins because why? I saw the sun today. I actually rolled my window down for a bit when I was driving through town. It got to be like 45 degrees. A ton of the snow has melted. We are definitely in the January thaw, which is very exciting to me. And then, one of my guys at Food Bank today just had to break my heart and say, well, we're supposed to get like 2 feet of snow next week. I think that's why God allows January thaw to happen, because he knows that us here in New England need some life to pour back in our veins. So what he does is he allows us to have like 2 or 3 days of 45-degree weather where we feel like we are almost on the cusp of spring. My brother Brian and I, we have the same. We're like, if you get through January and you get to Groundhog Day, the 1st of February, you feel like, as a New Englander, like, winter can't last forever, and spring is coming, and like that's how I feel today. Even I'm not dumb. I understand that February is going to have a lot of wet, disgusting snow, and even March will, and sometime in April we'll have mud season, and all the skiers will cry, and I will rejoice because spring is here. Yes, I live somewhere where the air hurts my face, but it's fine. I don't think I could live somewhere where seasons didn't change, but I still don't like winter. And the older I get and the older my knees get, the more I don't appreciate the ice and snow. And I am happy that my parking lot of my house is no longer looking like a hockey rink. When I was in high school and middle school, my friend and I used to go ice skating in the cow field across the street from her house because that's how much ice there was in the winter. But we're almost through it, guys. This is just January thaw. It's not spring yet. We have a couple more months of winter. But if it gets to be above 40 degrees, open the windows and the doors. It's lots of germs going around. I know that there's a lot of people that are down. My daughter, actually, you can pray for her. Her and her husband have both been down with some sort of ook. I talked to her today and she has zero voice. And as you know, she's expecting. And when you're expecting, you can't take a lot of cold medicine. And, they try to keep that away from you. So she's just miserable. So if you're fighting the yuck, open the windows and go outside and just breathe some sun. It should help. So I had a guest that was supposed to be on tonight, but through a course of life events, did you know life happens and sometimes what you have planned doesn't work out? So we are going to have Bill on and Sharon Gaudette soon. I'm hoping next week if we can work out schedules. But unfortunately, Bill had to cancel on me. So I was like, man, I haven't had time to prep anything. So I texted my brother. I said, hey, you want to come hang out for the night? And he likes me and he misses me because he lives somewhere where the air no longer hurts your face, correct?
I was actually going to say yesterday I had my window down because it was 85.
Yeah, shut up. We don't want to hear that, okay? I felt like 45 was a like spring. I mean, you lived in New England most of your life. You know what it's like when you get your first 45-degree January thaw and you're like, I can live again. You go out, you take the dog out with no sweatshirt on,
I was going to say the hoodie comes off for the first time in 3 months.
Yeah, you drive in the car with the windows down a little bit to get your ice Dunkins. That was me today. And then the guys up at Food Bank were like, we're supposed to get 2 feet of snow. And I was like,
well, don't
shut
lament.
Up.
They're calling for snow down here this weekend, what means the entire state of Georgia will go on lockdown.
So you should go buy some milk and bread, right?
Stock up on the peanut butter and the milk.
Yes, I know January. That's why it's January thaw. My dad says our dad says here it's January. Tomorrow things will be back to normal. The thing is that God does this to keep us sane. Because
oh yeah,
he says I'm going to give you 2 or 3 days where it's going to be nice weather, and then bam, I'm going to nail you with 2 or 3 more feet. And then the closer you get to February, the wetter the snow gets. And then although I would rather I'm just saying, I would rather have snow than hurricanes and tornadoes and alligators. So you have to.
Here's the thing. We have alligators. The hurricanes are weird because Savannah is so far inland that they hit below us and they hit above us, but they never actually end up hitting us.
So far. I mean, we had a flood here,
far.
okay? Tornado here, not tornado, a tropical storm. I guess she was
We
Irene.
did have a tornado 2 years ago take out part of the elementary school down the road. So there is that.
We had tornadoes in Vermont, I mean, before. So
Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school, I don't know, you were still living at home, obviously, because this is my brother Andrew. He is very much younger than me. I believe I was 12 the summer you were born. Sitting in my parents' house, they have an old Vermont farmhouse. It was actually, if you live here in Brattleboro, part of the Historical Society, is part of the farm that Memorial Park is originally. And I was sitting up in my bedroom, which is to the back, well, at that time was at the back of the house. And it sounded like a freight train came through my front yard, which, I mean, we have a lot of tractor trailer trucks that go by my parents' house, but it was a wind shear. And it took out the tree, one of the huge trees up by my parents' garden or my parents' garden, my mom's garden. Sorry, Dad. I do know you do work up there tilling the yard, but it sounded like a freight train. So I don't think I'd ever want to live through a tornado.
I remember that. Dad and I were at Agape picking up a table because me, Timmy, and Abby were going to set up at the farmer's market for Kids Day.
Yep.
And we came home and the old locust tree that was on Zimmerman's property was laying straight across the middle of Mom's garden. And she was so mad.
She was so mad. She probably still is if we
mad.
brought it up today. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. Okay. Sorry, Dad. My beautiful face is blocked. Is that better, Daddy? I do remember that. It was huge. They snapped, and locusts really do snap.
Well, they're a hard wood, so there's no bend to them at all. It's all break.
It is. I just remember sitting straight up and thinking either Jesus has come or a train just went through the front yard. Like it was a really wild. So I'm glad I don't live somewhere that has that, but I still am not necessarily excited about 2 or 3 months. Although a couple years ago it was like July and Boston still had a snow pile. So
in fairness, I haven't shoveled snow once this year.
Yeah, well, you know what? Wait till tomorrow, okay? Do you even own a shovel?
It'll melt in 2 days. No,
we own a shovel?
use a porch.
Yeah, you get one of those like blow torches and torch the front yard. Well, thank you for coming on with me tonight. It was better than them sitting here and listening to me ramble on. And you've been a busy beaver. Like you are working, right? You're not just sitting at home.
No, I am working. I am currently the executive chef at Georgia Southern University. Go Eagles.
So they do they have summer classes? Like you'll be working through the summer?
Oh yeah, I'll be working straight through summer. It'll be a lighter load, but we'll do a lot of cleaning and research and development. But yeah, it's a year-round gig.
Yeah, nice. And nobody complains about the food. No, I'm just kidding. The college kids, right?
No, yeah, they complain about weird stuff. No one complains about the flavor. They're like, I don't like this brand of frozen French fry you use. Get the old one back.
Yes. Like,
instead of chicken tenders that are hand breaded, can we get Dino Nuggies?
No.
No.
You paid for the food. Go out and buy your own, right?
Right.
I was actually talking. Sorry, Don. I'm going to ill all our sister Donna's dirty laundry about being in college and having like hot plates and microwaves and coffee pots in their dorm rooms, which was not OSHA compliant, right? To have dorm rooms. So that's kind of your full-time gig, but you're also writing. You have one book out, which I did promote and did read, but Christmas is over.
Christmas is over.
January is on. You've lost your Santa beard.
Yeah, Santa beard is gone for another year.
Sanctification process has been reversed.
Complete.
For anybody that watches the Santa Claus, that's my favorite line. The sanctification process has begun. In case you didn't know, Andy is really good close friends with Santa. So watch out. If you're naughty, he will report you. You ever put anybody on the naughty list?
Every day at work.
Every day. You got a long student count. This you should tell the kids, listen, I know Santa. You're going to get F's on your report card if you don't. So you write a lot about hospitality, which I think a lot of people know if they bought your book, Reflections and Recipes for the Advent Season. That was a lot of recipes, and one in which I want you to know that my kids are mostly my son-in-law. I bought oyster crackers, but never actually made my oyster crackers. They're still sitting
Oh,
on my counter. It's fine. You can make them year round, not just at Christmas. I actually was thinking about they're good football food. We just had chili the other night. They're really good
they
on
are.
chili.
Super Bowl's coming up.
Super Bowl is coming up, and hopefully the Patriots will be in it, baby.
My vote's on a New England Chicago Super Bowl. I want to
Okay,
see
all
that
right.
so bad.
But you've actually shifted gears a little bit in your writing, right? So tell me a little bit
I
about
have.
this new writing adventure you have, and then we're going to get into the topic of the evening that we've. And if you're here in the
So
chat, besides our dad who just loves us, he probably just wants to see you. He just saw me today, so he's probably just logged in to see you. Go Pats, Dad says. Yeah, we know, Dad. We know who you vote for.
yeah, my writing has shifted some. I'm still writing about hospitality. I'm in the process of getting my second book professionally published. I
Woohoo!
was approached by a couple publishers. I do feel like I'm going to be going with one of them. I'm working on collecting some money to be able to do that because I do need some up front, but they're going to be able to get it in 40 outlets worldwide, like Walmart and Barnes and Noble. So I'm excited about that. But I've also started writing another series. I've added a page onto the website called Salt and Fire, where I am tackling not necessarily hospitality themed lessons.
So it's
Where
not about making margaritas. Like
no margaritas.
no salt.
Um,
No salt rim.
yeah, no salted rim. Where I'm tackling stuff that you don't often hear preached about from the pulpit, but are still valid lessons for the church to know.
And why do you think they're not preached from the pulpit? Now, I will say, in full disclosure, if you're watching this or listening to this, Andrew and I are both, obviously, we're siblings, but we're both pastors' kids. My dad's here in the chat. We grew up in ministry. So that's, I think, important context for our conversation that we're people that have been in church and heard a lot of sermons in our lifetime and a lot of different
So,
churches.
so I will answer that question with a short disclaimer at the beginning.
Okay.
Not all churches are like this. Not all churches have this motive, but they don't preach about it because it doesn't make you feel good. It's not going to bring butts into the seats, and it's not going to put more money in the coffer.
Got it.
It's just
So we
simple
won't
as
hear
that.
Joel Osteen preach these types of sermons.
No, you are probably not going to hear these types of messages preached in any auditorium that can seat more than 200 or 300 people. With the exception of Anthony Mitchell at 2819.
I was just
He
gonna
likes
say
to hit
that.
some hard
I was just
stuff.
gonna say he don't care. He actually tells
No,
people, "Go ahead, get up and walk out. Go ahead."
right. But no, we skirt around the sermons that aren't going to give us the warm fuzzies. We have that seeker mentality where we are looking to play to our audience. We are forming worship around where they will feel an emotional response instead of us having an emotional response at God.
Right.
And these are lessons that need to be talked about and discussed. And I actually, in 2 posts ago, an old schoolmate of mine actually commented how much he loved I said it. I ended it with, if you disagree with any of this, please message me, argue me. Let's talk about it because they need to be talked about.
But I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with the argument, and I'm gonna. People who know me know that I'm not one to skirt around. Shocker, to skirt around the bush, but I think that a lot of people are uncomfortable arguing things like this biblically because they don't actually know the Word of God.
Right. It is all regurgitated and what they have heard constantly preached.
Yep.
One poorly informed preacher preached it once, and we have regurgitated it through the generations instead of actually diving into not only the text, but the history and the culture around the text. So that way we can understand what
Well,
was
it's
being
like
said
I'll
at the
take an
time.
example, like people who say women aren't allowed to wear pants, but when this text was written there nobody wore pants. like like
And it meant men's clothing. What
it
was
meant
more
men's
of
yes.
they didn't
Exactly.
want them to identify
Yes.
as a man.
Yes, it had nothing to do with actual pants. That's what I'll
I
say.
I always lean back to the verse in Leviticus where it talks about everyone interpret it, you can't get a tattoo. But if you
Yeah,
actually read it, it says don't mark your body for the dead. What was talking about cutting yourself and bloodletting as a sacrifice for the dead,
right,
not decorating your body.
right.
So it really these are discussions that need to be talked about, and I go into some of them in my book that will hopefully be coming out soon, God's Kitchen Confidential, where I look at these lessons from the church and from the Bible through the eyes of the kitchen to try to make them a bit more relatable. People
Yeah.
tend to understand business more than they understand scripture, what's sad, but it's because they actually studied business.
Right, right. And people, it's more a part of their life. Let's just
Right.
be real.
What is sad?
Yep, yep. But it's true. And I think that the one post here that we're going to talk about tonight, I think it really boils down to, Andy, is one thing that a lot of people are skirt around, avoid,
Or outright avoid.
avoid, which is conflict.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I am not one, which some people are going to find this shockingly. I don't like conflict. I actually avoid conflict often. I have a husband who likes conflict. Actually, I'll say this. I have a husband who's not afraid of conflict. There's a difference.
You know what? It's funny, and this will probably be mentioned again, but I'll state it here because it's appropriate. I don't like conflict. I don't want to be there. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
But when I was younger and twice the size of every kid I was playing with, dad drilled one lesson into me. Don't ever, ever, ever start a fight.
Wait, did
But
you
if you
learn that
happen,
lesson? No,
yeah,
no.
but if you happen to find yourself in one,
Right,
finish it.
right, right. And I think that there are a lot of people. I tend to be uncomfortable with conflict. I don't, and it's because of my nature being a peacemaker, right? Like, and I say that like I know we're gonna get into it, but like I don't like conflict because I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Right.
And that's a very selfish viewpoint, but like I apologize for things I didn't do just to make the conflict be over.
Right. And
To avoid the uncomfortable conversation. I'm sorry. And my husband very is aware of this. Like I have apologized for a million arguments and fights that he started because I just want them to be over.
right. And here's the thing. Conflict isn't supposed to make you feel good. You are supposed to have the ick after it.
Yeah.
But you are supposed to meet it head on despite the ick.
And I think that in the line of the two areas of ministry in my life that I've been put into, one with our summer camp, a lot of times
Yeah.
I'm remembering very distinguished, like it's burnt into my brain. I had to call a social worker, no, a foster parent who was a social worker, okay, who was doing an emergency placement with a child. And because to be honest with you, she didn't even want the child in her home, but it was one of those emergency placements, you know. So she sent
Yeah.
the child to camp for the week with us. And they were 18 and or almost 18, and they didn't want to be there anymore. And they
Yeah.
had decided they were going to go get on a bus and leave. So I called the foster mother slash social worker and I said, just so you know, we'll call her Susie, wants to get on this bus and leave. And there's not a whole lot I can do to stop her,
Right.
because of her age. She's going to be able to go. And I just wanted to give you this opportunity. I told her that we're going to wait for the time for you to get here and you can get her and you can take her. And she was so livid with me. And I remember this very distinctly. Like I was very uncomfortable, but I was like, nope, we're going to have this conversation. Like I have to do this because for the better of other people,
Yep.
not myself, I'm uncomfortable. Now she didn't believe me, and she had to talk to my husband and then dad ultimately, and she was very disappointed because she got the same answer. But I remember that feeling of, no, this is important for this person's safety.
Right.
Or like, because of this child's safety, I have to have this conflict with this person. And I have to be very firm, and I have to not let my own feelings get in the way, because there's a goal to be met. And I think that that's part of what causes people to avoid conflict, especially in the church, is for the sake of unity. I think you actually said it. For the sake of unity, we will ignore it. But when
You know,
there's wrong being done, there's not unity.
so this just popped into my head, and it encapsulates Christians. I won't even say the church as a whole so beautifully. I remember a Sunday where I had to deal with conflict at church. We had one of our local guys at the soup kitchen who broke another homeless guy's nose, and I made it to the bottom of the steps at the church in time to see a good friend of mine get sucker punched and see the stars go flying. I went over, I picked up the guy, I so gently placed him on the ground and then held him there. Yeah. Anyways,
stroking his hair and
stroking his hair and telling him it's okay because he's our special little snowflake.
Yeah.
And then men from the church came over. Elders and deacons came over while I was restraining this man on the ground and yelled at me because I was restraining this man on the ground to end a conflict.
Right.
And isn't that just the sad example of, we see conflict in the church, someone finally says, okay,
right,
we're going to address this conflict, and the church turns on the person that addresses the conflict.
Right.
Instead
You're trying
of the
to cause division.
Yeah, you're causing division.
Right.
You're not going with the flow. No,
you're being judgmental.
We need to show them love.
Right. You're being judgmental. That's another one that gets thrown out when people try to deal with conflict. You're being judgmental. You don't understand their situation. No, I do.
No, I do. I just understand the situation where this could escalate to, and it needs to be stopped. And stopping conflict head on is biblical. Adam and Eve sinned, and God didn't wait a while and then go, hey, is there anything you want to tell me? They sinned, they hid, and God appeared and went, hey, what'd you do?
Yeah.
He knew what they did.
Right. Who told you that?
he addressed it immediately.
Yeah. And I think avoidance is a big thing that people do, and they do use these words. And I will say the bigger picture, I think, is the personal relationship that people get into where they feel like, oh, if I address this sin with this person, then that relationship's going to be, how are they going to receive it? Or they say, that's not what people use. I won't say a lot of the church does this, but I think definitely the world does this. Is that what Jesus would actually do? Would he do that? Would he confront somebody? And they don't actually know what Jesus would do. They're just speaking out of the concept of Jesus and God that they have, which is a pacifist,
right?
A grandfather, a white old guy in heaven, or a hippie that doesn't wear shoes and talks about love and acceptance, which really is almost laughable for those that know the scripture and know who Jesus really is, because he's actually really the opposite of a pacifist.
So,
really.
So we'll go back in sequence. The Bible is very clear when Jesus comes back, he's going to come back with his robe drenched in blood.
Yes.
Of his enemies.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a pacifist.
Right.
He went into the temple, and I love love the way that and now his name escapes me. In the book of Beautiful Outlaw, the story is told about Jesus going into the temple. And most of the time when that's preached, it's preached like Jesus flipped over the tables in a fit of passion. When you read it, he walked in, saw what was happening, shook his head and went, "I'll be right back."
It was almost like he was having a temper tantrum. That's
Right.
what I think a lot of people do.
No,
Like
he
he
walked
popped
in
off. He
calm.
lost his cool.
Yeah. He walked in calm. He looked around, said, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
Found stuff to turn his belt into a whip. Went back. That is no longer a crime of passion. That is with intent.
Dad says
And
here,
then,
your most precious friend is the one who risks a relationship in order to speak truth to you.
oh, absolutely. How good will that relationship be when they're in hell because you allowed them to continue sinning?
Not great.
Not great. The
It's
other
like that
two,
old Ray Boltz song, "Thank You." It'll be more like, "What the hell?" Like literally. Why didn't you tell me?
my other two favorite examples of Jesus dealing with conflict head on. I mean, how would the church of today take it if someone walked in and looked at a group of hypocritical people and called them a brood of vipers?
Yeah, you bunch of snakes. I mean, that's what he said. He said, "You bunch of snakes,"
I
which
mean,
all of us know
imagine,
what that analogy is, right? When you think of
right,
someone as a snake, you don't think of a friend.
and I have this argument with my wife often. Imagine, because language changes, right?
Right.
You brood of vipers, you whitewash coffins. Put that in today's language
Yeah.
and tell me what he was telling the Pharisees. And then the other one, when he was confronted with the woman found in sin and adultery,
Yep.
he looked at them and said, "You without sin cast first stone." That is
I
holy.
wish you would.
Yeah, that's what we say for do something. I dare you to.
That's right. I wish you would. That's like when you say to your kid, "Do it one more time." I
Yeah,
dare
one
you.
more time.
One more time. Say, if you open your mouth one more time.
And the
Dad said,
famous
"Don't
words,
put it in today's language."
yeah, in, in the words of Sam Jackson, say what one more time.
Yeah, say it again. Say it again. Yeah, and I think
And
but that's not the picture that most people are comfortable with Jesus. They're more comfortable with the "we love you and we accept you just as you are," and come in. But really, I think the thing that I think we need to differ is the people that Jesus confronted that way were church leaders, were churchgoers.
they were believers.
They were believers. They were not unbelievers. And because the way he spoke to unbelievers, just an example, the woman at the well,
Right.
the way he spoke to leopards, to blind people, to the woman with the issue of blood, he did not speak to them, the unbeliever, the sick, the dying, was not the same way he engaged with church leaders. So I think that's a difference because there are many who, I don't know if you know this, but there are some who would like to speak to unbelievers who are in sin the way
Right.
that we're talking about, right?
You
And
know
that
what?
and that's not the kind of conflict we're talking about. We're talking
No.
about believers who are not acting right, who ain't got
And,
their stuff together.
and here's the funny thing: when you look at this section of verse in that context, in Matthew, we're given the roadmap on how to deal with conflict. He says, first, go to the person, meet it head on. If that doesn't work, bring a friend. If that doesn't work, bring it to church leadership. And if all else fails, treat them like an unbeliever. You escalate the conflict.
Right.
And then when they finally won't change, you treat them with compassion.
Right.
And go, okay, clearly you don't know.
There's my baby girl who says hi. She's homesick.
Oh,
You can.
hi, Grace.
It's a good thing she's texting because she sounds terrible.
But I mean, you escalate it
Right.
until the point that you can't escalate it anymore, and then you show compassion.
And I think
But
that most people don't do that. You say here in this kind of this piece here you wrote, we gossip, we whisper, we grumble until the whole thing erupts like a shaken bottle of Mountain Dew. And I think that that's the problem is that we have two ways in which we deal with conflict within the church. And notice I said that within the church, within the body of believers, we ignore it and hope it will go away like a wart.
yep.
We're just like it go away, go away. Or we talk to other people about it. And we use terms like, well, I don't want to gossip. But
But
if
you should really pray about this.
you should really pray about this. And then they outline in
Okay.
detail personal information.
And how sad is it that in the church we deal with conflict one of two ways? Neither one is biblical.
Right. We deal in conflict the way the world deals in conflict.
I mean, I've talked about it often. I have been asked to leave 3 different churches because I dealt with conflict biblically.
That's almost laughable, is it not?
It really is. I dealt with it biblically, and the church was, whoa, we can't do that. We can't talk about the elephant in the room. We're going to need you to leave.
Yeah. Stop pointing out the obvious.
Yeah. Why we don't talk about Uncle Rick. We just leave him alone.
Yeah. And I think that that's unfortunately, but why do you think conflict resolution, right? That's what we're really talking about. You don't go into conflict for the sake of conflict, right? Jesus didn't go into conflict for the sake of conflict. He went into conflict to show the elephant in the room for restoration. The part of the reason why he has a biblical outline for conflict resolution when you have an ought against your brother is why? To come to restoration. Dad says here, the other side of this discussion is that when a brother and sister fall, they are immediately ostracized with no effect to correct. He is correct. And
He
that I
is.
think that's the avoidance, Dad, though. That's the avoidance of conflict is sometimes to say, I'm not going to come to restoration. I'm just going to get rid of you.
And here's why. And I will die on this hill. We do it because we are scared of the repercussion, because we are hypocrites.
Yep.
If I confront him about this issue, if I confront him about this sin, then he's going to start singing about mine.
Yep.
So you know what? We should just leave it alone.
But I think sometimes too, though, it is that, but I think sometimes also it's to keep the picture of perfection that some churches want. My church personally doesn't have that problem. Nobody's calling us perfect. Today, actually, I was talking, full disclosure, my mom and I were talking about someone who said they had a problem with odor and someone they were sitting close to bothered them and they have asthma. And mom was like, oh, I relate to that, maybe try not to sit with them. And I was like, if I complained about the odor of and I'm not denouncing mom has a problem with odor and really bothers her asthma, but I was like, what about the guy that sat behind me that reeked like pot so bad I got contact eye? Like no one's calling my church perfect, but there are people that avoid having certain people in their church, so they push them out because it doesn't make the picture of the church should be.
It doesn't fit our box.
Right. Our brand, really.
Our brand.
That's what it's really off brand, this is just an example. I don't know if you saw, there's a viral video of a little boy. He was at Disney on Ice and he saw Mickey and he was like, that's my boy, Mickey. And he was like crying. It was so cute. And Disney World sent him to Disney. And I said to Noah, that's great marketing. Like that's great marketing. That's on brand for them. And a lot of times we push people out because it's not on brand. It doesn't fit our brand of church.
Down here, we don't hear it so much in the north, but down here, every church has the one catchphrase, your family. We're the family church. And you are absolutely part of this family as long as you fit our mold and you look like our family. But as soon as you don't look like our family, you're not family anymore. Yeah. You need to go somewhere where
emancipated. You've been emancipated or divorced. Yeah, no longer having visitations.
It's sad.
It is sad because it actually kind of defeats the whole gospel. I mean, if we think of it, the heart of the gospel is what? There was conflict between man and God
And the whole point of the gospel was that restoration.
to
And we
restore.
are supposed to model that.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times what I was thinking about today is I was thinking about this conversation is I was thinking about how, you know, everybody always uses the term of Jesus came as a man and he understood humanity, but Jesus didn't act like humanity. Like he
Right.
was fully God and fully man, but if you look at his conflict resolution, it wasn't like us.
No,
It it,
not
wa-
at all.
it was nothing like us humans. We are terrible to each other. I mean, that's the reality. Yeah, he was not afraid of conflict. He didn't run away from conflict. He actually, I think um it was more like, "Oh, let me at them. Get out of the way." And his disciples were
He
like, "Lord, like you don't want to be here." And he was like, "No, I do, actually."
he met it head on.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are called to do. I mean, I don't know if you're jumping. I don't want to jump ahead of where
That's
you're
okay.
going, so stop me if I am. But there's a reason why he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers."
Right. So let's talk about that for a minute. What do you think a peacemaker is? Like, the funny thing is, because when I think of the word peacemaker, you're going to know what I think of. I don't think of a guy who comes in the room and makes everything peaceful. I think of the
No.
character, the peacemaker. Does anybody
Yeah.
know what I'm
Right.
That's I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just go Google peacemaker, okay?
No. And
Peacemaker movie.
I go well. Right. And funny where I'm about to head. I talk about it in the piece about conflict. The word peacemaker, the brand peacemaker, was the name for the Colt 45. It was a gun, and a peacemaker was the righteous man in town that had the gun,
That's it.
not
A peacemaker
holstered.
is different from a peacekeeper.
Right. We think we are called to be peacekeepers.
Right.
We're not. We are called to be peacemakers. And sometimes that means shooting a wolf.
Mhm.
As a shepherd, sometimes that means breaking the ankles of one of the lambs that keeps running away so that way the flock will have peace. The peacemaker historically was the most deadly gun in the West because it maintained order by righteous means. It was not drawn out of anger. It was not drawn out of insult. It was drawn to keep peace lawfully when needed. That's what we're called to be. And I mean, we're called to be a gun, and half of the churches in this country won't even allow a firearm in their sanctuary, physically or metaphorically.
Right. Because that's not what Jesus would do. But
Because
it
that's
is.
not what Jesus would do. That's not what the guy who's going to ride a white horse with his robe soaked in blood up to the horse's hip
Or even the
would
guy
do.
who told his disciples, "Hey, listen, if you don't own a sword, you probably
You
want to
should
get one.
probably get one.
You should probably get one."
Or the son of the God that wiped out multiple people groups
Yeah.
because it maintained peace. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Noah's
when the
flood.
angel Noah's flood, the angel that came down and fought for Joshua and
Yeah.
slaughtered,
Yeah.
I think it was 10,000 men.
Yep.
That the angel, not the Israelites, the angel of the Lord slaughtered.
Right.
Yeah,
But
no,
people
that guy's a
that's not on
pastor.
brand for the modern day church though. It doesn't sell and bring the flocks. But
No, that
it also doesn't s- being a peacemaker and being somebody who comes in and looks at conflicts in a righteous biblical way is not I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. It causes me to correct my behavior. It brings repentance.
One of my one of my favorite examples of the difference in between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. And here's a real world, worldly example. So, for those of you Christians that had never been to a bar before, you're going to get a lesson. A peacekeeper is the bartender that gives a free drink to the drunk that's causing trouble to shut him up and keep him quiet. A peacemaker is the doorman that comes in, grabs him by the back of the shirt, the back of the pants, and throws him out on the concrete and goes, "Now we're all done."
You're out here. Yeah. And the funny thing is as you're saying that,
pacify the people that are making trouble instead of dealing with it.
It's funny that you're saying that, because we have a number of people that attend our food pantry that say they come there because they feel safer than going to a lot of the other food shelves in town. And a lot of the other food shelves in town are known for being peacekeepers.
Right.
I didn't see anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is a safe space.
This is a safe space. And then there's our food pantry that has my husband at the door.
Right.
Who says, "You know what? I'm not going to be hungry tonight. If you want to come in here and start this business, you can go somewhere else. And if you really want to start this business, I'm calling the cops. And you can never come back here again."
You also have your son-in-law and the son of my best friend growing up that are right there and very able-bodied if needed.
I will never forget the night that we had somebody that was disrupting the peace. And my son-in-law stood right between me and him, and then we escorted him outside where the police met him. And but what it does is, when you have peacemakers, it creates a safe environment for those in attendance.
One quote that will never leave me, and I can't remember which pastor said it, but he was asked why he dared to carry a gun on his hip at the pulpit. And he said, "Well, it's for if a person with ill intent were to come into my sanctuary to harm." And he was asked, "Well, why wouldn't you show them Jesus' love?" And he said, I will show them Christ's love one bullet at a time, because I love my congregation and I love them enough to protect them.
That's right. That's right.
And far too often we love the wolf instead of taking care of the sheep.
That's exactly right. And we actually avoid the confrontation of sin. And I think a bigger conversation, I think, Andy, for us to wrap up here, is not just the human person, but the demonic activity.
And you know what that is? We've been talking about this a lot in my household recently. We have to remember, Paul writes it very clearly, we do not battle against flesh and blood.
That's right.
Any conflict that you have going on, you're not fighting the person, you are fighting a demonic force. So why would you bend at it? Why would you show that mercy and grace? No, we are called to love the sinner but hate the sin. Meet the sin head on.
That's correct.
Stand up and say, "Not in my house," just like Christ did when he went and made a whip and drove out the sin.
Right.
He did not. At one point, we did The Witness, and Bob Kirkman played the scene, and he grabbed Paul Berto, I think it was, lifted him up and threw him across the stage.
Yes.
The scripture is very clear. He drove out the merchants by flipping their table. He did not throw the people out.
Right.
He destroyed the sin.
That's right.
He let the people stay.
Right.
He went, "You can stay in my house, but this sin nature isn't going to be here."
Right. And that's what I think that a lot of people miss, because we take it as a personal offense rather as an offense of warfare. We take it as like it's personal to the person Rather we need to flip the script in the way that we look at it. Now, I won't say there are some people that are just snakes, okay?
Well, without it, and
It
they should be dealt with
and they
as
should be
such.
dealt with accordingly. But there's a lot of people that I encounter that are just dealing with demonic oppression.
The reason we take it so personally is because we ourselves and the people we typically deal with are so attached and so in love with their sin that it is part of their
And
personality
comfortable.
and comfortable with it. And how dare you attack me? Oh, no, no. No, no, no. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking this situation. I love you as a person. I had a conversation with my son a couple months ago where I looked at him dead in the eye and said, if you ever speak to your mother that way again, you and I will have issues. I love you, but this action is
Right.
not welcome here.
That's right.
End
And
of
what
the
you were
story.
speaking to was the spirit that was trying to rise up in him that he
Right.
himself needed to confront.
And
And
here's the
as
thing. I tell my kids all the time, I love them more than air itself. And I like air. But I love him enough that I will confront the issue and I will say, for your betterment,
right.
this is not allowed
Right.
because I love you.
And I think that we love the phrase that I say often is that you can love somebody to hell. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you avoid the conflict, you avoid the uncomfortable conversation, you avoid the deliverance, walking through deliverance sometimes. Because sometimes
Right.
deliverance is that it's not instantaneous. It's not like you saw in the movies with priest and holy water. It's sometimes it's walking out trauma. You
You
know,
know,
and you do that because you love them, and I want to see you grow and succeed and flourish and have an abundant life.
there was a conflict a couple of years ago where I had to look at someone I care about, and we were at odds with each other. And I plainly said, this relationship may end, but I'm going to make sure that it does not end because of me. It is not my decision. I'm going to do what needs to happen. You can decide what to do with that action,
Right.
but I will not be to blame for this. And so often we are afraid that we will take that blame of, oh, I ruined that relationship.
Right.
No, speak truth.
Right.
Be plain. Make it known that you want to continue this relationship. And if they decide to walk away, they were probably going to anyways and just looking for a
Correct.
reason.
And I think that as I was thinking about conflict in general, I was reminded of saw a clip earlier. We talked about it earlier, but none of the rest of these people were here. Um, is my husband had an issue with somebody and they were bad mouthing him. We don't need to even talk about what it was, but they were bad mouthing him. And I said, honey, I don't like the way they're talking about. And he's like, I got big shoulders, like whatever. They don't like
Right.
me. That's fine. And then they said something bad about me. And he
Yep.
shifted his whole attitude. I don't know if
Turned
you guys
into Will Smith.
Yeah, you better keep my name. I won't say it, but like out of your mouth. And I think that that's maybe a shift in attitude that we as believers need to have in the sense when it comes to conflict in the body of Christ is like
No.
I think of myself as like the mama bear, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm not only a mama bear, like I'm very protective of my family.
Mhm.
Someone says something bad about my family, it's like I will fight you. Like I am
Right.
half holy and half hood. Like don't don't play with
I
me.
grew up in the south side of heaven.
Don't play with me. Okay? You pray with me, don't play with me. But like I think that that's an attitude that a lot of people don't have that we should have because we are engaged in warfare. Like whether
Right.
or not you signed up for it, you're here.
We had mentioned, you and I off camera had talked about this. Christ, through his entire life, was called a bastard, was called a blasphemer, was called a liar, said that he was demon possessed, and he
Crazy.
let it all crazy, a drunk, a glutton. He hangs out with whores. He let it roll off his back. But when they scolded his disciples for eating on the Sabbath, he stepped right up.
Yep.
When they were going to stone a woman who was probably set up by the guys that were going to stone her, he stepped right up.
When the man got healed on the Sabbath, same
when
thing.
the man got healed, he stepped up. When they were in disrespecting his father's house,
Right.
he stepped up.
That's right.
And he said, "Wish you would.
Come on.
Give me a reason.
Say one more thing.
One more thing.
Talk about my mama." Like
Right. I mean, I was recently having a discussion with our good friend Jeremy, who I get to see not as often as I want. And I sent him a message. I said I could use some prayer. And he reminded me that, we show grace with the world. And I said, it's with the Christian. And it's about my kid. And he said, let me get a shovel. I'll meet you there.
Is it like that movie where Ben Affleck says we're gonna go someplace and we're gonna hurt some people, and Jeremy Renner
You can't ask me about it.
Whose car are we taking? Whose car are we taking? That's how I am. Like literally, like whose car are we taking?
Now, obviously, most of it was joking, but that's how we should address conflict in the church.
Right.
There's conflict. If conflict is seen by multiple Christians, there should be multiple Christians saying, whose car are we taking? We're going to go address this problem.
Right now. And like we go, oh, well, let me pray about how we should deal about it. What does the word of God say? And if you don't know, that's on you.
You do not need to pray on what the Bible has already clearly laid out.
I love it when people say that. Well, we should pray about how to deal with this.
Yeah, no, it's in black and white. He left a manual. Read it every once in a while and study it.
Just brush up on it. I wonder what God would tell me about this.
The last thing that I do want to touch on, because I know we're running out of time, but it's your dime, so whatever.
That's all right. We're here.
One thing that's preached often in the church is turning the other cheek.
Yep.
Because, like you said, as Christians, we should let it roll off our back, and we should not take that kind of offense. We should turn the other cheek. I touch on this in the writing. It is so important to that piece of scripture to know the historical context. By the law of the day, if you backhanded someone, you were viewing them as subservient. That's how you struck a slave. You struck them with the back of the hand. That's how a Roman would have struck a Israelite, is by striking them with the back of the hand. And when you go this way. And what Christ said to do is turn the other cheek. If you struck someone with the palm of the hand, it meant you viewed them as an equal. So when we are told to turn the other cheek, it is not cower so you can be hit again.
Right.
It's come to the conflict. You don't have to. You are found in a conflict. And you greet it and go, no, I will not be underneath you. I'm not going to lie down on this. I, believe it or not, am a son of the King of the Most High.
That's right.
You will treat me as such and strike me with the palm of your hand if you want to.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to cower to this.
Right.
And so often in the name of unity, in the name of not being decisive,
no judgment.
Cower.
I hate that.
We cower and we lower ourselves from the birthright that we're given by the blood of Christ. And we're not called to do that.
No.
We are called to treat conflict as we are speaking to an equal. And note I said as an equal. That means when you do conflict, you're not treating someone as less than you.
That's right.
Because as Matt Worrell, we're all beggars. We're just showing other beggars where the bread
right.
line is. We're
And
all equal.
and the
We're
other
all
side of it is we're all sinners and we've all need to be confronted.
and we will treat each other as we are both redeemed sinners.
That's right.
We are both equal, and we will treat each other as such. So, no, when there's conflict in the kingdom, when there's conflict in between brothers in Christ, there is no upper hand. There's a front hand and there's a back hand. And it's up to you to place yourself and say, no, 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 you will treat me as an equal. And you will strike me with the front of your hand. And you will deal with such consequence from then on. Simple as that.
And I think
because
that
despite the conflict, there's always consequence one way or the other.
Right. And the other part of that is too, is that we as Christians need to be humble enough when someone does love us enough to
Right.
approach us, to be corrected.
There are
and to accept that correction.
And there are plenty of times when I was spiritually backhanded by people in the church. And I was younger and immature, and I did not handle it well. I knew what it meant, and no, I am not underneath you. And I tried to get the upper hand.
Right.
I did not lean forward and go, no, no, we're equal.
Right.
Here. And any time I have been spiritually slapped by the palm of a hand, I have had more respect for that person.
Correct.
And I am willing to go through this conflict.
And what you're really talking about is how you approach somebody when there's conflict. Right. How do you approach them? Is it from a place of judgment in the sense that you're better than them? No.
No.
It's I'm trying. And when people say, like you're not supposed to judge, that's actually not correct, actually.
Yeah, we're actually told to judge Christians pretty hard.
Yeah, read the Bible. And if you're in leadership, you should be judged even more.
Twice as hard.
Twice as hard. So read the Bible. That's what I'll say. When people say, you're not supposed to judge. No, actually not true. Paul actually is one who over and over again judged people often, but he did it with truth. I always say, can you imagine what a letter to the church today would look like? No, I don't want to know. Actually,
it's funny. I had an argument with Eliana a couple of years ago, and she got real emotional. And we tend to do this in the church a lot. She got emotional, and we were talking about something in the Bible, and she said, well, that's my feeling on it. And my reply was, don't bring me biblical feeling. Bring biblical fact when you're in an argument.
Yes. Jesus did. Actually, Paul, when he wrote a letter to the church, he didn't care about your feelings.
No, and he didn't act on it. He didn't say, I feel like you may be doing this. He brought fact. He said, you're doing this. Yes. This is why it's wrong. This is how he brought fact.
Fact. Right. Right. And that's it. And that's why you don't go on speculation or rumor or gossip.
Right.
You go with fact. And I actually recently have been learning. I'm 50, almost 51. I've been learning to say when someone comes to me, I go, I don't know. It's none of my business.
I don't quote him often, but I believe it was either Plato or Socrates had the 3 rules of information. Does this directly affect me?
Yes.
Is this going to tear anyone down? Is this going to prop you up?
Yep. My thing is, I go, it's none of my business. I don't care. It's not my problem.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Unless it is my problem. Unless it does involve me. And then I go, I'll take care of it.
Right.
Right now. And I actually think one of the biggest things, which we'll close out here, and I'm going to actually put, while we're chatting here and closing up, Andrew's GoFundMe to help get his new book published. And I actually put it onto the Facebook page of the podcast, so you can link on it there, is one thing that I do a lot Wayne and I both kind of tend to do a lot in our ministry and in our home is one, never react.
You need to
We
respond, not
we
react.
respond and take care of something as soon as you can.
Yep.
Communicate something. If there's been a misunderstanding, I do this in ministry all the time, and some people, they think I'm being short, and I know I'm not being short, I'm being clear. I want to be really clear. This is what I meant to tell you. This is the misunderstanding. Can we please take care of it?
Right.
Okay, let's move on because we have a goal in mind. And
Right.
I think
it doesn't need to be harped on.
Nope. Like let's move on. We're going to go on. We're going to move on because we have a goal, and the goal is the gospel. And what we have done, and I think this is why it's an important conversation, is what we have done is we've spent more time bickering and fighting and not resolving conflict in the church. And what the devil can't destroy, he will distract.
Yep.
And he has distracted us for a long time. And I think what we need to do is pull our big girl panties up, deal with the conflict that we have within the church so that we can become a healthy bride so we can get about the business of our Father.
A divided house cannot stand. And by ignoring conflict, we are constantly in cycles of division. Simple as that.
Yep. We're not putting on any salt on our wounds. We're just licking our wounds.
Well, no one wants to put salt in the wound because it hurts, but it heals.
But it heals. It heals. Thank you, my brother, for hanging out with me tonight. It was better than some dribble I would have put out that I didn't think about because life happened and, carrying on.
Thanks for having me. And to anyone, thank you for listening. Please, if you're able to give anything at all to the GoFundMe, I'm really hoping to get this book out soon because all the publishers that I have talked to and the few people that have got a sneak preview of it agreed this is a message that the church needs to hear. And there's more like this in that book. So
go on to our Facebook page if you're not following Andrew and share it, give it, like it, watch this, share this show with others so that you can help him build his community as well. Remember, God loves you.